Hi, I'm Paul Millen. I'm in the Wairarapa, standing in a 18-month-old eucalyptus block that was planted and managed by the Greater Wellington Regional Council. I'm going to talk to you about the importance of establishment and the things that you need to do to get a good crop away as we have here in a grassland environment. First consideration is the actual site itself. Where will you choose to plant your trees? And that's important in depending on what types of objectives you have for that planting, whether they are to grow particularly a woodlot and the location of that in relation to roading and all the rest of it. So you've got to really give some good thought to the site. And then the next step is which species, and there are a number of eucalyptus species, and I won't elaborate on the choices that you've got, but you've got to understand those species, particularly where they are best sited. So is the site, for example, on a ridge? Is it on the side of a slope? Is it down into a gully? Each of those types of sites may require matching a species suited to that particular site. The second consideration is to ensure very good fencing. If you expect an old fence that hasn't had a lot of maintenance to keep stock out, then you'll be surprised, because you can see that once you take stock away from a paddock and plant it up in trees, sheep can quite easily, or stock will see that there's a lot of growth over the fence, and they'll put a lot of pressure on those fences. In a very short time, a mob of sheep can do a lot of damage, so you really want to avoid that, if you possibly can. Having sorted out your fence and established exactly the boundaries of your site, the preparation prior to planting is critical, and ideally you would be spot spraying, or in some cases people blanket spray to remove or kill the weeds. Another key consideration prior to planting is to ensure you deal with any animal pests that are likely to invade your planted site and damaging the new trees. The worst candidates are rabbits and hares, and they should be shot prior to planting, and retain a policy of hunting the area following the planting for 3 to 6 months. So as to proceed with pre-plant spot spraying, you've got to have decided what spacing, how far apart the trees are. If you've got a long-term objective of a woodlot to produce large saw logs, you can start with a lower spacing or stocking overall, something like 3 metres by 3 metres, which is 1,100 odd trees to the hectare, would be adequate. If you're considering firewood or posts and poles from durable species, then the initial stocking should be around 2,000 stems to the hectare, and your spacing may be something like 2.5 by 2.5 metres. We recommend the ideal planting period to be from about mid-September and through to as late as October, depending on the potential for a late frost. So your spot spraying needs to be done at least 6 weeks prior to that, to allow the chemicals to do the job of killing the grass and actually creating a well matted, partially rotting planting site that's much easier to plant into than if you were planting directly into the grassland. It is feasible to plant direct into grassland and to post plant spray around the trees. That can be done, but you have to be careful with the chemicals that you use there to ensure that you get a good result, and with that approach you really want to be spraying within 2 or 3 weeks following your planting. Having prepared the site and got your spraying done on time, key thing is to have ensured you've got good quality seedlings coming from a reputable nursery that know that they have grown the species that you want and that they can deliver them in prime condition ready for planting. We recommend that you use a potted seedling or a tube seedling that has already a root ball that's well established, and will ensure that the tree, once planted, got a much higher chance of survival compared to bare rooted stock. Bare rooted stock can be used, but they do require much closer management from when they're lifted in the nursery, transported to the site, and then actually established. Having got your seedlings and you're happy that they are the quality that you needed for the job, a good quality planting is essential. The job that either you do yourself or that you have contractors do must be done to a high standard. When you're planting a grassland site, you can also consider fertilising the trees at the same time. This isn't essential because many grassland sites have had a fertiliser application through the previous farming, as well as the stock having been on the land, and so there's a lot more nutrients immediately available than other sites. Fertilising can still have an additional benefit of rapid early growth, and in a drought situation as we have had this year, they can ensure the trees are stronger and healthier and better able to withstand the drought. Fertiliser options include tabs, which can often be bought through a nursery or through a rural store, as well as there's granulated slow release chemical fertilisers that can also be purchased that are very useful also. Having established your eucalypt plantation, you can be confident if you've done your spot spraying well and used the right mix of chemicals that the weeds won't be reinvading the planting sites for 3 or 4 months. So that the next key step really is to be monitoring your planting and be prepared to go in and release spray either in midsummer or into the autumn period to ensure you keep the site weed free going into the winter period. Not only does this have the benefit of encouraging further growth, but it also ensures that if there's a situation where you get a frost, that the plant is well clear of the frost and is a lot less potential for it to be damaged. So if you get through all of those steps and successfully establish a block of eucalypts in grassland, after 18 months you should be able to end up with a tree like this one here on the left. Really happy to be here and growing well.